Welcome to the Unbreakable Mind and Body podcast. I am your host, Tiana Gonzalez, a multi-passionate creative, storyteller, and entrepreneur with a fierce love for movement. This is our space for powerful stories and actionable strategies to help you build mental resilience and elevate your self-care practice. Together, we will unlock the tools that you need to create an unbreakable mind and body. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Tiana, and this episode is going to be a little unhinged and unplanned. I will tell you from my own personal experience, not only with this podcast, but with a lot of personal passion projects that I work on. When I spend too much time curating, crafting, getting the notes together, making it perfect, making it look pretty, it jams me up. I end up stuttering on my words, thinking about what's ahead instead of staying present in the moment. And the finished product typically is never as good as when I trust my gut and I go with my flow. Now, I want to talk about energy on this episode. And if you are someone who's into things like quantum physics, the law of attraction, the law of assumption, manifesting, then you'll probably like this episode. If that is not your thing and you don't want to hear that shit, I respect that. This may not be the episode for you. So you get to choose what you want to listen to. And similar to what many people in the spiritual community, whether it be online or in person, whether it be in a yoga class or on a retreat, or whether it be in a one-on-one conversation, what is always important is that you take what resonates and you leave what does not. So if you've ever found yourself doom scrolling on certain apps such as TikTok, YouTube, and sometimes Instagram, depending on the algorithm that you have curated for yourself through the things that you have interacted with. And if you've ever seen someone delivering a psychic message or a message from spirit guides or something from an archangel or the archangels, multiple, plural, they typically will say, this is a message for the collective. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And it's not always going to be a perfect message for you, but you could take pieces of it that seem to be in alignment and then proceed with your day. Now, the interesting thing about that type of information or entertainment is people will say, okay, but if you're only taking what resonates and leaving behind what doesn't, then you're kind of cherry picking. And that may be true, but here's the thing. You know in your heart, in your gut, what you want to do with your life. You have an internal thermometer, you have your intuition, and it is your guidepost, and it leads you in the direction of the things that light you up, and it will shrink and close and make you feel cold, make you clamp down when you are interacting with someone that you don't get a good vibe from, or when you feel like a situation is not safe. We've all been in situations where we're talking to someone and you can see that the energy behind the person's eyes or their brows or even their lips is giving you different feedback than the words that they are saying. Or they're listening to you, and as you're telling your story, you can see the energy shift. It could go from joy, happiness, cheer, smiles, jubilance to concern, judgment, and a lot of negativity. Or it could be vice versa. But what this really boils down to is trust. And in order for you to develop a strong sense of self and know who you are as a being, as a person, as an entity, And as a spirit, because we all have spirit within us, then you got to go through some shit. You have to get confirmation. One of the most important teachings that I learned, I want to say about 10 years ago, in my own personal journey with the higher power, with my relationships, with energy, quantum physics, and God. And again, I know this episode may not be for everyone. I get that. But I'm sharing some of my experiences with you. Throughout my own journey, about 10 years ago, I will say, I learned that negative experiences, or having an experience and saying, oh, I'm never going to do that again, that's actually phenomenal. That is a good thing. That is a gift, and that is a blessing. Because even if you have prayed for something else, even if you have something different on your vision board, or even if you are dating someone and they're good, things are good, but they're not great, or you're settling, and then something takes a turn and it doesn't work out, it's almost, but not quite. And in that situation and circumstance and maybe some events, you can decipher what were the things that didn't work for you and what are the things that are a confirmation that, no, that's not what I want. I didn't mean that. I guess I need to be more clear about what I'm asking for. And then you get more clarity. It's like writing a novel with a pencil. And at some point, you're going to have to take a break and sharpen the pencil again, because the lead will become soft and it will eventually run out, and you will get down to the point where in order to get more of the lead in the middle of the pencil, you have to sharpen it. Now, I realize as I'm talking that some of my listeners here may not be all that familiar with old school number 2 pencils, or maybe you did at a certain point when you were in early childhood, but maybe not recently. It's not a thing. So let's talk about quantum physics a little bit more so you have a better understanding of what the fuck I'm talking about and what do I mean when I say quantum physics. We are all made up of energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just changes its form from one thing to another, similar to how you can take water and put it in a tray and put it in your freezer and you can create ice cubes. Then you can take the cubes out and you can put them in a drink and they will melt and create water. So that's how energy works. And when you're doing the work to visualize possibilities for yourself and think about the things that you want for yourself, you have to put yourself in a state of being that is on the same frequency as the things that you want. What do I mean by that? Okay, I'll give you an example. If I am telling the universe or journaling in my notebook and saying, I want to be a multimillionaire, I want to live in a luxury house, I want to have 3 homes and work for myself, and I want to have a Maserati and a Porsche and my private jet and a helicopter, and I want to live a life of luxury. All of this sounds great, right? And as I'm doing the visualizations of putting myself in that scenario and seeing myself living out that visualization, I also need to feel what it would feel like. So it's not just about daydreaming. It's about actually implanting myself in my thoughts in that future version of me. Okay? But we have to take it one step further. So if I'm going from, let's say I'm making $100,000 a year in my salary, and then I want to be a multimillionaire, it probably would be in my best interest to do this manifestation practice in steps. So I can have that big dream and that big goal. But if I finish my visualization session and I close my notebook and then I go to work and I start cutting coupons or looking for discounts or being extremely frugal, I told the universe earlier in the day I wanted to be a multimillionaire. But now the behavior and the energy that I'm embodying is of someone who does not live like a multimillionaire. So you see how there's this big gap there. And you might have heard people talk about quantum leaping. And what they're talking about is closing that gap. Okay. How do you do that? You have to start acting as if you are already that next version of yourself. So if you're a business owner, you start making decisions as if you're making whatever that step is between the $100,000 and let's say you make $10 million a year. For some people listening to this, I know that this sounds completely insane. And for others, you're going to get it and you understand what I mean. But for those of you who are saying to yourself, like, what the fuck is she talking about? I'm trying to simplify this in a way because manifestation is a very real thing. The law of attraction is a very real thing. The law of assumption is also real. And what these things mean is whether you believe in it or not, it's how the universe works. So you could say to yourself, oh, I wanted that. Let me give you a more real world example. I wanted that red Louis Vuitton duffel bag. I don't even know if that's a thing. I'm just making it up, right? And then someone buys it for you as a gift for your birthday. Do you say to yourself, it's a coincidence? How did they know I wanted that bag? Or do you trust that somewhere along the way, the universe heard your thoughts and said, oh, as you wish. And they delivered it. But the root of true power in manifestation, in creating outcomes first in your mind and visualizing them and then turning them into reality and bringing them into your 3D world is to trust yourself. And trust is a big fucking deal. Because if you don't trust yourself, you're going to operate giving off mixed signals. Just like the person who says they want to be a millionaire and then they clip coupons and go to 4 different grocery stores on Saturday to get the best deals. That's not in alignment with somebody who is a millionaire. And there's definitely a gap there in the energy in which you're dwelling and in the actions that you're taking in that example. So how do you bridge that gap? Well, there's a lot of ways to do that. But the first part is you have to believe that you're worthy of the things that you want in your life. And the second part is, as I said already several times, you have to trust yourself. You have to know that whether it happens or not, whether it takes a year, whether it takes 10 years or 50 years, you have your back. You trust yourself. Things will always work out. And maybe sometimes the things that we think we want are not really in our best interest. I was in a bunch of very passionate and romantic relationships in my late teens, like from the end of college all the way through my 20s. And as soon as I hit 30, I was almost 31, but as soon as I was 30, going on 31, I ended a very painful situation. And I've done a lot of work since then on my own. Now, some people say that, you only have a few like true loves in your life. And if that's the case, then I'm definitely done because I had a boyfriend at the end of high school. I had a boyfriend in college. I met a great guy the summer before my senior year of college. We dated for 2.5, 3 years. And then after him was like the abusive guy. Then I dated somebody who had substance problems. And then the guy that I dated that ended up until 2009. And ultimately, when I look back on those relationships, there wasn't a lot of trust. And it wasn't necessarily that I didn't trust the other person, but just in the foundation of the relationship, there was not a trust built. There was not a strong foundation there on which we could build a relationship together. And probably just due to age and life and circumstances, I don't think we are designed to fall in love and get married in our early 20s like many of our parents did. My mom and dad actually got married even younger than that. My mom was 16 when she got married to my dad, and he was either 18 or 19. And then I was a planned pregnancy. My mom was 18. My dad was going on 21 when I was born. So yeah, times have changed. Culturally, economically, everything is different now. And so when I think about trust, and I think about trusting myself, and I think about trusting other people, it's interesting to look back on the past and kind of see how you have evolved over time. It's the root of everything. When you trust yourself, when you have a knowing of who you are, when you know what your non-negotiables are, when you know what your values are and what you won't tolerate in your life and what you want in your life. It's not all about negative. Trust is also about good things. You want to call in the things that make you happy and add value to your life as it is right now. And it's not just in romantic relationships. We're also talking about with friendships, with family, and even with clients. I know for me, if I meet a prospective client and they want to work with me, but there are things that are said that make me feel like, this person's going to struggle because they don't trust themselves, it might be a no for me. I am not the trainer that's going to say yes to everyone that wants to work with me. I've never been that person. And have I made exceptions? Yes. And every time I did, it wound up backfiring on me. It wound up being like, yes, stupid, you knew this wasn't a good idea and you went ahead anyway because I really wanted to help the person. But guess what? That person didn't want to help themselves. And you can't help anybody if they don't want to help themselves. So I know this episode went all over the map. We talked about energy. We talked about manifestation. We talked about the law of attraction. We talked about embodying who you want to be and how do you operate that way. At first, it feels like a game. It feels kind of like imaginary or pretend or Monopoly, but it's little things here and there that you can do to get yourself to the next level, the next version of yourself. And then we talked about trust. And we talked about self-trust and trusting others. And really, if you take anything away from this episode, what I want you to leave with is that you must trust your intuition. It will never steer you wrong. We get fucked up in this because we want to see the good in people. We want to give people the benefit of the doubt. We don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings. We want to please people sometimes. I'm a reformed people pleaser, and I am not ashamed to admit it. It took a lot of work for me to learn how to instill healthy boundaries and how to say no, thank you, and stick to my guns. It is a practice, and I'm tested on a daily basis. But I've gotten a lot better at it, and I'm healthier mentally for it. So if you want to work on improving your quality of life, the easiest place to start is within yourself. Keep your promises to yourself. Do the things you say you're going to do. Make yourself a priority. Fill your cup daily. Get movement, get exercise, sweat, lift weights, do whatever brings you joy. Because the thing is, when you fill your cup first, then it has the opportunity to overflow and you have more to give to everyone else. But if you wait until the end of the day to do what makes you happy or to do the things that you need to do, and that could be as simple as eating a healthy meal or going to bed early. If you're not doing what you need to do to feel great, then you're always going to feel like you're dragging, like you're running on empty, like you're pulling yourself through mud. You know you don't want to live like that anymore. So these are the simple things you can do to start tweaking and making improvements little by little. It feels difficult in the beginning, but it gets a whole lot easier the more you do it. It's just like a muscle. It's just like creativity, which I talked about on the last episode. So I'm going to leave this here. I know this episode is unhinged. It's all over the map, and maybe it's not your jam, but if you stuck it out and you rolled with me through this episode, I truly appreciate you. I appreciate your time and attention every week. Every Monday, I drop a new episode here, even on the weeks when I don't feel like it, even on the weeks when I'm tired, and even on the weeks when I've got no ideas about what the fuck I want to talk about. And this episode is a perfect example of one. But these are things that are truly important to me. They weigh on my heart. They're in my brain. And when people ask me, how do you feel so good all the time? It's because I'm radical about taking care of myself and keeping myself healthy so that I can live as long as possible in the best state possible. Appreciate you. If you want to drop me a note, you can check the show notes and see how to do that. I'll catch you on the next one.